Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Like I always tell you, people are watching from all the 7 continents of the world. So some people are sleeping, some are awake, some are midday. The timing of the day is different. Just like you have Eastern Standard Time, you have Greenwich Media Time. So whatever time of the day you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, one will suffice. Welcome to Atlantic Discuss. My name remains Ade Balogun. I'm your host. And today we're going to discuss about, it's like a post-mortem. That's a post-mortem on the recent court judgment in Nigeria. And we're going to have a look at the upsurge of coups in Africa, especially with what happened in Gabon. We've not really gone through that Atlantic Discuss. So that's what we're going to do today. We have one of our in-house specialists. Yes, I call it in-house specialist, great guy, Peter OGWURIKE. Peter, welcome once again to Atlantic Discuss.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so that's it. That's what we're going to start with the election. Then we go to Gabon and we discuss other economic issues that are very relevant. Peter is not new to you. You all know him. He's a professional. He's a Texas A&M alumni, among so many other responsibilities. So he's the right man for the job. He's an authority. He's politically savvy, and So, Peter, let's start with the recent court judgment. The appeal court just ruled against the APM party, the PDP, and the LP. There was no minority dissent. There was no dissent. All the 5 judges, they struck out all the cases from the Shetima case of double nomination, INEC not complying with their rules and regulations, so to say, coupled with so many other things, including Tinubu's forfeiture cases. Well, a lot of people have been talking and all that. So, but I know you've gone through it. You are an authority on this thing. And what we do here, as we all know at Atlanta Discuss, we just go for the fact, we disseminate positive news in the world filled with all bad news. So we're not going to play politics with it, which we don't do. We're just going to go for the fact, what the rules say, what the Constitution says. Peter, what's your take on the judgment?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't really been following that judgment, but I know a summary of what's happening. And it's sad because you expect the justices to do better, right? You're supposed to be neutral as a judge. You're supposed to analyze based on the merits presented to you in a court of law. From what I've seen, when it comes to the legal system, intent is something that's very difficult to prove in a court of law. Now, with the Shetima one, that's the first one that I was like, okay, what's going on? It turns out that the judges actually did a better job protecting the APC candidates than did their legal team.
Why do you say that?
Okay, so they said Shetima, it wasn't his intention to have double nomination, right? At the time he did whatever he did. How did they arrive at his intent? Are they now mind readers? What does the evidence show? You see, when you follow cases like this, this whole election petitions down up to Supreme Court, and you look at historical cases, you're being told that you shouldn't look or address these cases based on technicalities alone. You have to analyze technicalities and the merits that are brought before you. And then when you're giving your judgment, you're supposed to touch on every aspect while arriving at your conclusion. You can't just create a sweeping statement and then throw everything out. That's not how it's done in legal terms. And then these are supposed to be judges. So when you look at all this whole thing that just happened, you just start wondering what the future is for Nigeria. Because there's so many things that they've done that it's obvious. Okay, for example, now the parties in court, the PDPs, LPs, and whoever, there was a petition to have this thing televised live, right?
Mm-hmm. That was at the beginning.
From
the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. The intention is so that they can carry the citizens of the country along and they can hear and see for themselves. Yeah, transcripts were given out and everything. But when you sit down and think about what's just happened in the last couple of days, you realize that it was pre-planned all along. Because if Nigerians were part of the whole process all this while, they would have heard for themselves firsthand. They would have watched what was happening in court. They would have seen the evidence that would be presented before the court. But no, they didn't want the citizens to see all that. Then they come towards the end and then they say, okay, you're going to televise it. Now you're televising a result with the belief that the Nigerian citizens are fools or ignorant or unaware. You're cooking up these reasons behind what you're doing now. And then, okay, well, they should just take it because they have nothing to reference. That's what this is all about. So when you sit down and you think about it, The legal system was supposed to be like the last hope for the common man. And now they're like, it's heavily politicized. And then you start wondering, okay, well, what's going to happen? And then you see some Nigerians actually, I mean, for those who perhaps have their siblings or their family members in power or something, everybody's all thinking about themselves, that whole selfish thing, right? And then you start wondering, what exactly is the fate of the country? Does anybody have empathy for the common man, the person who doesn't have somebody to speak for them? Have we become so insensitive that we think, I mean, what's the population of the country? What?
200 million, thereabout, 200 million people, yeah.
Being controlled and manipulated by a few people, families, and friends. Sometimes when I think about this whole thing, I just like, I don't want to bother myself about it because it's.
No, but you have to, okay, look at the case of perjury, the way the judges answered it. Look at INEC non-compliance, which is the one people are actually talking about the most, about INEC stating that the election will be conducted this way, BVAS, IREV, and all that. Money was released for it. It was budgeted for it. INEC's budget was about 350 billion thereabout. That is excluding foreign donation from the EU and what have you, United States. Now, because it's saying that INEC is at liberty to conduct the election any way they deem fit. But INEC has stated that this is the process they're going to follow. They're going to transmit in real time. And if, I mean, that's what the law says, that if there's actually any doubt about what's in the ECA form, that there's going to get the fact from the beavers. I mean, that's what's right. So why do you think the Nigerian judiciary will blatantly write off what INEC said? I understand what you mean when you said maybe the judges are bribing, because at the end of the day, maybe the judges are seeing it from a different angle and maybe something we don't know. Or what does the law say actually?
There is no angle. You see, this is what we're talking about, the impunity going on in the country. INEC is supposed to be an independent body of its own, has its own rules. There are laws governing them. You have videos of what's his name? Is it the Festus Okoye guy out there, and all the authorities who have clearly stated the rules of engagement and what would not happen. But it's funny that all the things that they say would not happen is what's happening. So it just shows you, I mean, it's black on white, and it just shows you the disregard for the citizens of the country. Is it that, okay, well, they're so used to, well, there's nothing the citizens are going to do. They're going to do it anyway. Oh, yeah, they come out initially, tell them what they want them to hear, and then they go back and then they do exactly the opposite. And then you're going to have people who will come on air and try to justify it. I mean, they're playing on the intelligence of the people, but again, it's left for the people to decide if they want to continue like this or not. I mean, that's just a summary, because the evidence show what is happening.
Yeah, but I know, for example, that Nigerians don't have a record of revolting and all that. Maybe I shouldn't put it that way, but the point of the matter is that if the people don't do anything and the people are happy with it, then that means that nothing is wrong. Because, like you said, there are people that think it was a fantastic judgment, and there is actually no need for Atiku, for example, and Peter Obi to go to the Supreme Court, that they feel is a waste of time, that the Nigerian judiciary, even if they have a strong case, to rule against them. So now my question is, do you think the petitioners should go to the Supreme Court with all that is happening?
Oh, yeah, definitely they should go, because by process, by law, it's an option for them to, right? But what's happened so far is, based on what's happening or what's happened, is going to mean more work for the Supreme Court, because now the Supreme Court will now have to go through all the evidence that have been presented. So what these guys just did now was create more work for the Supreme Court, because they will now have to go through all that to understand why these guys came to this conclusion. So it's more work for the Supreme Court. Now, if they also compromise, which everybody's saying, then the Nigerians will know. You see, there was a statement you made. You said something about Nigerians seem to be okay with it, or they are not just worried, right? Gabon, for example, you had a family that has been in power for what, 5 decades or something like that?
Yeah, over 5 decades.
Yeah. So decade one, nobody said anything. Decade two, nobody said anything. They are okay with it. 3, nobody said anything. They're okay with it. 4, oh, they got it under control. 5, oh, well, we are solid. 5 plus or whatever. You see what happened? So it's human behavior. You can only push a people so far. but one day they'll wake up. Now the question is, okay, well, when they wake up, are they going to be diplomatic about it, or is it going to be something else? Time will tell.
But I mean, Gabon, 50 years. When you say 50 years, are you saying that in Nigeria, for example, there could be a dynasty in power for 50? Yeah.
I mean,
It, it,
look at what's
it's
happening.
not impossible.
No. Look at what's happening. What's the reason behind the military coup in Gabon? Because it's all about canceling the falsified results from the last election, what in August or something, right?
Mhm.
They've actually come to say it's a temporary situation because it's more about trying to, like, restore democracy, restore the country to international standards based on human rights,
Yeah, but the guy is the president's cousin. The military guy that came in is cousin to me. So it's more like a continuity. Or what do you think?
think about it. He said all these things, right? But when you
Hmm.
look at this, people can say, oh, well, it's the same family name or whatever coming in. But what's the reaction of the people? You see, when a coup happens and people want to say, oh, it's negative, it doesn't support democracy, and it's like, oh, they're imposing themselves on the people. If the people don't like it, then yes, you can say that. But if the people, think about it, for example, you say coup is horrible and it's bad and it's not in the interest of the people, but you have a democratic process or government in place. And then now the military that you say is not good for the people topples the government, and the people are so excited and positive and accepting it. That should tell you that something is wrong. Shouldn't it have been the other way around?
Look at it this way also. You know, in Nigeria, we've had military government in the past.
Mhm.
And I mean, even when Buhari came the first time, that when they overthrew Shagari, people were in the street now. And, even when they overthrew Buhari, people are always in the street. But this love between military dictators when they come in and the people is always about 6 months. You understand? So, I mean, I know in Burkina Faso, the people are still happy. Mali is still fresh. Gabon, we never know. But from our own experience in Nigeria, it doesn't last. People come out here, they celebrate. But I understand your point that the previous government, the democratic government, have messed up things like Shagari and the MPN did from 79 to 84, thereabout. But in this instance, now, there's been coup in Guinea, we've had in Mali. Chad was not really a coup per se, but the president died, but his son, who is the general, came in. Now, we've seen in Burkina Faso and what have you, now recently in Gabon. Do you think it's going to spread?
I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. So the question should be, what do all these countries have in common?
Okay, what do they have in common?
Well, you do the math.
I'm asking you, we're talking, it's a discourse, it's Atlanta discourse with discuss.
I mean, all they have, it's all that whole corruption issue, money laundering, looting the countries while leaving its citizens in poverty. That's what this whole thing is supposed to be. It's a fight against all this. Now, the people coming in, are they coming in with a good intention and then they end up getting corrupt themselves? We can't tell, right? We don't want to go based on assumption. Now it's for them to now decide and say, okay, well, they've come in and then let them prove otherwise, right? Let me use Gabon for example, right? I mean, they're saying they're fighting corruption, the whole money laundering, they want the preservation of the environment, and all the whole good things, right? Now, if they come in and then they stay, I mean, the guy has been sworn in as the president, right? If they come in and repeat what the previous guys have been doing, or actually counter what they say they are trying to solve, then that's a whole different ballgame. But I
Yeah,
personally,
but I'm sure just like me, you've read about the guy in Gabon, the cousin to Ali Bongo. You've not read about him. There are reports that says that he's a drug dealer that is linked to cartel in Latin America, that Gabon is a conduit. I mean, I've read it in reputable news media. That so now my point is that
what's the
someone that
difference?
has that kind of track record.
What's the difference between him and the guy you guys have in Nigeria? What's the difference?
Oh God. What's wrong with the guy in Nigeria? Tinubu, what's wrong with him?
I
He's
mean,
not in the military.
so now what is the problem? Is the problem the person, the individual, or is it what status they have?
I
Or
mean, are you talking about his track record?
no, you said something about, if I've read about the guy in Gabon, he's a drug dealer, he's a this, he's a that.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
so you're qualifying him based on that. They said it.
mm-hmm,
Okay, what?
mm-hmm.
So let's go with what they've said and what the facts say. So him and the guy you have in the country, Nigeria, they have some things in common, right?
Yeah, I mean, based on what they say, But the court just exonerated him. I mean,
The Nigerian court is not going to exonerate him based on a crime he committed in another country. And we
mm,
know what it is. I mean, these things, it's not even worth talking about. Except one chooses to be gullible, that you believe whatever they said. But the facts are the facts. You know, it's like you're playing on people's intelligence. And those who want to buy it can. That's up to them. There's certain things we don't want to discuss. You know, it's like what's happening in the US now, for example, you talk about, people are talking about their pronouns and all whatnot. If somebody's telling you that white is black and black is white, and they really believe it, what do you have to say to such a person? So sometimes it's some things are not even just worth your time or for you to talk about. You know, you just like, if that's what they believe in, hey.
so after all said and done, if I mean the Supreme Court clearly and they get there, Supreme Court gives the verdict and tell Bola Tinubu to continue in power, what happens? Do you think there's a possibility because Nigeria is economically down? Things are looking really bad. We all know that. So, but do you think that if at the end of the day, I mean, you never know, he might have a very bad track record, drug pass, this pass, I mean, but it might end up still being the Messiah. It might bring Nigeria because I do think that nobody can be worse than Buhari, even if he doesn't get Nigeria. I mean, I'm saying if the Supreme Court says it stays there, but I think he'll still do better than Buhari. That's my own opinion. You understand? I mean, he doesn't. Buhari scored 0, so even if you score 2%, it's better than Buhari.
So now we're lowering standards, right? Let's put it
The
this
standard has always been low now for Nigeria,
way.
Africa generally.
Let me put it this way. If Nigeria was a business and you've had all these leaders as the CEOs,
I'll sack them.
and you've had the financial health of the organization based on every CEO you've had, right? And you're to forecast the future or the next how many years or next year based on the performance. What's the direction going to look like?
It's going down, going south. Yeah.
So there's no magic.
I mean, that's a logical conclusion,
There's
actually.
no magic. There's no magic. So people, you see, you made a statement where you say, what if he's the Messiah?
With all his shortcomings.
Well, fine. If it's 2% better than Buhari, he's Nigerians said the same. In fact, you see that phrase right there, and that thought process is what has been right from when we were kids. And it keeps going the same what if. The next person is better. What has history shown you? What's the trend?
Interesting. I can tell you, personal opinion, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people agree. Nigeria is not doing well. We've said it so many times. Nigeria is the largest concentration of black people in the world. I was watching today when the president of America arrived in India, and the meeting was fantastic. India is well positioned to be a superpower now. America has agreed to support India to be a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. Now, why am I saying this? The Nigeria we're talking about has a lot of similarity with India. We've said it together on this show. India is multi-ethnic, multi-religious, populated, and all that. Now, India was colonized by the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister of the UK now is even of Indian origin. Now, India has used things Nigeria has called obstacles, hurdles. India has used it to its advantage, and there's actually no record of a coup in the annals of India. So the question I'm putting to you now is that India is getting stronger and stronger. Nigeria looks weaker and weaker. What is actually the way out of all this? Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's looking like even the Supreme Court will not do what people supposedly want. What's the way out? There has to be a way.
You see the difference between India and Nigeria. Indians and Nigerians in Nigeria. Indian politicians and Nigerian politicians. Should I tell the difference between two of them?
Tell me.
Pride of nation.
Patriotism.
Because you're not going to have a pride of nation and yet want to destroy your country. You cannot be destroying your country consistently and then claim you have pride of nation. It doesn't happen. I mean, you're saying India is about to be world power and all whatnot.
It's already a world power in a lot of ways. Yeah, at least population-wise, the nuclear power state and what have you. And America is saying they're going to support them. They want America's support to be a permanent member of the Security Council. And America has technically agreed. And I'm saying that Nigeria, a country with the largest concentration of black people, if we have some semblance of stability economically, politically, we should be vying for the same thing, permanent representation on the UN Security Council.
Nigeria is blessed. Nigeria has everything that every nation out there that is considered developed hopes and dreams of. The only thing that these guys have that Nigeria does not have is leadership.
So the Nigerian followership has no fault.
You see, the fish rots from the head. It's leadership. That's what Nigeria lacks, right? So now, because I don't like when people talk about Nigeria and then they start trying to make references to other nations that are succeeding, it's not the same thing.
But that I did based on similarity. Multi-ethnicity, multi-diversity, both Commonwealth country, population, and what have you.
You see, that corruption, I mean, corruption is everywhere at different degrees, right? But when you have people who think that it's their birthright to lead, or because they want to hold on to power, or because they are so used to stealing the economic treasure of a country that they don't really know how to make money. They don't know how money works, right? And if you don't know how money works and you can't invest, you don't know what to do with that, there's nothing they can do in their lifetime to generate that kind of income for them. Guess what? That's why they want to stay there. People are assassinating other people because they feel like, oh, well, I have to be the one in that position. When you stoop that low to take the life of a fellow citizen, just because you feel like you're entitled to a political, I mean, mind you're running a democracy, then it shows that something is fundamentally wrong. All they're doing is stealing. And the money they're stealing here, look, you don't understand it. People that are making noise in Nigeria, that you feel that they have money, are people that are actually picking the crumbs. Those are actually doing the damage. The kind of money that they're taking out of that country, you can't comprehend. So when you look at it, you're like, okay, well, accountability. I mean, before it was, oh, politicians. Oh, well, you have all the arms of your government. Okay, now everything is just falling apart. Everything is being compromised. Oh, the judiciary. I mean, you're looking at what's happening. Even before this whole election, you could see what they've been doing with all the states and all those who are just coming up, those who are not participating in certain processes being appointed winners of that, those who are number 4 becoming. You see, there's a lot of things have been going on, and all that was more like their test run.
Yeah, but you also agree with me that people in southern Nigeria have always said, okay, the North has dominated power, that anytime the Northern is in power, there's a lot of nepotism, they put their people in charge and all that. The 90% of all the positions at stake are given to Northern. Now, there's somebody from the Southwest in power now, and there's that same thing is look like it's reoccurring. And when people are complaining, they're like, okay, when the Northerners did it, what did you guys say? It's our turn, so we can do it any way we want. So it's looking every day like it's turn by turn Nigeria Limited. When it's your turn, still, and everybody should keep quiet. That okay, it's a Yoruba's turn now. It doesn't matter how the president got there. It doesn't matter what the past track record, past antecedent of the president. Let him do his time and go. We're rotating it turn by turn Nigeria Limited. It did not just finish it under Buhari. Let Tinubu do his own. And Jonathan has done his own in the past. Maybe after Tinubu goes to the east or wherever. That it's just that vicious circle. What do you think? I mean, it does look like there's people have, just condemned themselves to fate that it's like turn by turn Nigeria Limited.
No, people haven't. Maybe that's what the politicians want you to believe. People haven't. How old is Nigeria?
63 in October.
Including military and civilian regime. What ethnic group have been leading the country to date?
The one that have been in power, I think the North have had more opportunity and power.
No, you just gave me, I mean, the regions that have been leading the country.
Yeah, okay.
What regions?
I didn't understand what you said. I didn't hear that, bro.
What region of the countries have all those have been leading from? What regions of the country have they been from? Have they come from?
Yeah, north, south. I mean, every part.
Where exactly?
Maybe except the southeast has no rule, but Zeke was the southeastern.
Maybe.
But they have executive powers.
So if people are saying it's turn by turn, what does the results show for the turn by turn?
Well, there's no equity. There's no justice. Some have been omitted.
What's the trend? See, people want to come out
It's
and make so much noise and brag about certain things. But look at the report card. What does it show?
I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
So when you look at it, okay, so is this about bragging rights?
Mm.
Or is this about salvaging a nation?
Mm.
What's more important to you? Is it the bragging right or is it the progress of the country? Even in the Western world, you have people from Nigerians, and when you sit down and you hear some people talk, you start saying, okay, well, if this is the mindset you have, why are you not in your country? People make so much
That
about
if you have that kind of
so proud.
mindset,
It's
why you
my
not living in Nigeria?
it's my brother, it's my sister. It is us in leadership. Okay, what are you doing outside your country? Why don't you go in there and enjoy, since it's your family or your clan? You see, there's something fundamentally wrong with most people, actually, because people are suffering, people are dying, people are committing suicide, people are fed up. All the common man is asking for is hope. And every time,
True.
as the years go by, the little hope that they have is being snatched from them. I see, empathy looks like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but I mean, we've discussed this before. Tribalism, it's an issue, you know. It looks like when somebody from a particular ethnic stock is in power, 80, 70% of people from that ethnic stock feel there's an obligation to support that candidate or that person in power. And now the people doing this
And when
are
they're
educated people,
and when
even
they're
though they sound narrow-minded and parochial in so many instances.
and when they are suffering, is the suffering or is the hardship allocated to the region of the country that isn't their clan?
No, that's a big no.
Or,
Everybody's buying
everybody enjoying and suffering together?
mhm. Absolutely. Christians, Muslim, ancestral worshippers, Yorubas, Igbos, everybody buy gas at the same price, you know.
So when
The
you
exchange rates.
yeah, so when you sit down and you think about it and you're like, okay, well, so what's that to be proud of? You go outside the country, Nigerians are doing well, individually, right? That's another thing too. Outside the country, that whole collaboration, partnership, they don't really do well with it, right? But individually, they're doing great. They're doing awesome.
I say that a lot too. Mhm.
And that gives you an idea of what's happening in the country itself. So people say, oh, well, it's ethnicity. Everybody comes in and then they bring their own person. Are they really bringing their own person, or are they bringing their immediate cronies, people that they think will protect them? Because the Yoruba man goes in there and he surrounds himself with, you say, the Yoruba people. No, those people are not representatives of the Yoruba tribe. Those people that they surround themselves with happen to come from their region, but are more of their immediate friends to protect their interests. That's all it is. But people like to make that mistake. Oh, Yoruba man comes, he brings in Yoruba people. Oh, it's our. No. The guy who comes in, he brings his own people to protect himself and their interests. The other guy from the north comes, you say, oh, he's being tribalistic or whatever. No, he's putting people to protect himself. Those people are not necessarily a representation of where he or she is from. That's the mistake most people make. So it's either they're gullible, that gullible to think that, okay, well, okay, yeah, the names of the group of people surrounding the number one citizen happen to be from a particular region. So in other words, it equates to us. Come on now.
Yeah, but could that also be
Look at the quality.
could,
Look at the
it,
quality of the people. Look at it this way. And I'll tell you why it's not necessary representation. Because let's say a Yoruba man comes in or a Hausa man comes in, right? There are smart, I grew up in the North. There are smart and intelligent Northerners, right? You have smart and intelligent Southwesterners. The Igbos, you have smart and intelligent folks. South, you have smart and intelligent ones, right? Now, if a Northerner comes and they says, okay, well, I want to be tribalistic. I'm going to surround myself with all the smartest and intelligent people from my region. Nigeria will progress. If the Yoruba man comes in does the same thing, but brings in the smart people from his region, Nigeria will progress. If the Igbo man comes in, brings the smart people from his region,
Nigeria will
Nigeria
progress.
will progress. So you see, it's not necessarily about the people from that region. You're putting square plugs in round holes, and people are busy. People are so short-sighted that they're thinking, oh, well, you look at the
Yeah,
name.
but let's look at it in another way. Let's flip it. Could it also be because the way people emerge, party primaries, if you are not a money bag, you don't win primaries, the elections are not free and fair. Now, the way people emerge, when you spend money and you get power, I mean, you agree with me at least that you don't have a moral obligation to deliver anything to the people. I mean, if you spend 25,000 or 10,000 or 50,000, depending on whatever, per vote. And so, because I've heard stories of people paying that much. So if you pay that much to win, pay dollars, because now, hey, if you want dollars, you pay so much to win a party primary, pay so much to win an election. And part of what we hear is you pay the police, you pay INEC, you pay other law enforcement agents, you bribe. To be a member of House of Representatives in so many instances, people are saying people spend as much as £1 billion. Now, if you get to the Congress, the lower house, the National Assembly as a college, I mean, is it not logical that you want to recoup that money spent, considering you might have even borrowed it? That lays a lot of blame at the doorstep of the people that collect the money. Because if you collect 25,000 to vote for somebody, you cannot now go and meet the person to give you water, to give you light, to give you, good health, good roads.
Let me ask you this question. Do you have to bribe your children to be a father to them?
No. Yeah, but do you think it's a good comparison? I mean,
Oh, yes, it
this
is.
politics,
No, it's not about politics.
as long as you're elected, you think there's a moral obligation for them to do it.
Are they being elected?
They are not. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So when somebody is paying, pretty much buying your vote, what makes you think they're going to go there and then represent you? You've taken yours upfront. It's common sense.
Absolutely.
That's why I made a reference to parents bribing their child to be a parent to them. It's on.
Yeah, I get the comparison now. I think it fits in. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then when you look at it, who are they bribing? Citizens, right? So it's now become a game of grab what you can at whatever level you are.
Which looks like what's actually happening anyway. There's no development, there's no planning, nothing. Everybody just.
See, I don't know which high school you went to. Have you had the opportunity to, like, I don't know if you have like
Old boys.
boys association?
Yeah, I went to American Grammar School. Very old school.
Okay, have you seen what that
School fella went, all the cuties, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Have you seen what the school looks like now?
It's disgraceful. It's very disgraceful. But I know that when I was there, it was top ship. I mean, this school was established in 1908. Our first site is now University of Agriculture. You understand? Then we moved to a new place, I think, in the mid-70s, and is where the school is. Yeah. So I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I think that everything has depreciated.
So now when you look at it, you're like, okay, the people leading, in quotes, the country, what's their take on education? You see, every year, ASU goes on strike. When you hear the amount ASU's asking for, it's chicken change compared to the money these guys are stealing, the money the Senate are sharing periodically.
Oh God. The way you're even talking about it, I'm feeling very bad because the issue for me really,
Hold on.
because
So
yeah, go
now,
ahead.
when you analyze it, is it that they don't want to solve that problem of education because they don't have the money? Or it's not just a priority because they can afford to send their kids overseas? So now you ask yourself, okay, well, if they can afford to send their kids overseas, what do they have for the common man whom they claim they represent? And this is going from year to year, not the same story.
It's unfortunate. Honestly, it's Nigeria.
Tell me a nation that progresses without education.
None.
You say your kids are supposed to be the future, right? the future generation, and you deprive them of education. What's your objective? What's your objective?
It's just wickedness, really. Wickedness, lack of foresight.
You think it's wickedness?
Mm-hmm. There is wickedness. I mean, what do you need $1 billion for? You know, one of the things that's really bad is even people that work as civil servants, teachers, all these people don't get their pensions. They work 30, 35 years and somebody will embezzle all it. I think part of the problem is that nobody gets punished. Nobody gets punished. And I would say it's, even though I don't think all hope is lost, I think things will change eventually. How, when? I think it's gone so bad now that something has to give. You understand? So how it will give, when it will give, I don't know. So to our listeners, we're still on Atlanta Discuss. We're talking about we're doing a post-mortem majorly about the tribunal judgment of the 2023 election. And we're looking at the recent coup in Gabon. I'm talking to Peter OGWURIKE. He's my friend, great guy, you know. So we're just doing a quick post-mortem. And I hear, you know, we just search and discuss the facts wherever I live. And this is even not a discussion. We're chatting now because we're sober. We're not happy about the way things are going. I just read that Norway has over 1 trillion in their $1 trillion in their sovereign wealth fund, not their foreign reserve. UAE has over $1 trillion in their sovereign wealth fund, not their foreign reserve. Now we, Nigeria, thought we had 30-something billion in our foreign reserve. We just realized that they've used it as leverage for loan, that the money, according to JP Morgan, is just 3-point-something billion. Who does that? So, Peter, is there a way out of all this? You know, is there a way? That'll be a last question. Is there a way out of all this? Is there a way? There should be. We like to profile solutions also. Is there a way? I know it's looking tough. I know some of you have an idea of what will happen, but you don't like saying it. But what's your own solution?
Nigeria, when as citizens decide that enough is enough. You see, everything everybody's going to be talking about is just wishful thinking.
Until the citizen decides that enough is enough.
As citizens decide, this whole thing will continue. You see, nobody wants to go to school anymore to come out and be a professional. Start a business and grow that business. Employ people, drive your revenue, and drive the economy of your locality. Nobody thinks about that now. All they think about is, how do you get into politics? Because that's all you, once you get there, you're a made person. That's the mindset now.
I agree. I mean, it's you're not Yahoo guy, yeah, politics. I mean, it's unbelievable.
They call people Yahoo people and whatever. The guys that are there, what do you call them? They're worse than those guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you look at the kind of politicians we even have, you know, people that have past criminal records and all that, it does look like they're actually sending a signal that it doesn't matter how terrible your past is, whatever crime you commit, you get away with it and you be in public. Well, Peter,
looks like the
thank you.
Politics seems to be the way the politicians are operating now. Is the more criminal minded you are and the more successful you've been in your criminal venture, then there appears to be a place for you in the Nigerian political scene, because they will want to use that to, like, you know, empower themselves. That's what it's looking like. I mean, it's
I agree. It is.
The citizens decide, Nigeria is going to continue like this.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for your time. You've nailed it. If anything is going to change in Nigeria, the people have to decide. Nothing works. Nothing is really working. There's nothing to be apologetic about. It's looking almost like a failed state. Well, not all hope is lost. Anything can still happen. But the key index, the key indices, the key parameters have not been ticked. The healthcare system is comatose. Education is dead. The security system is wobbly. It's just judiciary all of a sudden is nothing to write home about. The elections are never free and fair. As you know, we've been talking to Peter OGWURIKE. He's a good friend in-house. Peter, thank you for your time. I know you're very busy, you know, and it's clear. What we've concluded on is that there's a likelihood that the coups will spread if the politicians don't do what they're supposed to do. People are already calling out Cameroon and Togo. The Nasingbe dynasty and Paul Biya has been there since 1982. That what's happening to their election. Nigeria, we've heard from the judiciary, Peter Obi, Abubakar Atiku, they are appealing the cases. I mean, so let's see what it all comes out to. Thank you, our listeners. Thank you for your time. It's still Atlanta Discuss. We'll be back with another interesting topic very, very soon. Thank you all. Peter, thanks for coming. Thanks for your time. God bless you always.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, bye, bye.